Hi there, and welcome to this random and unscripted Q&A video. So you might be wondering, where's the electronics project or basics video for this week? Well, there isn't one. The reason is that I've been on vacation for the last week, and of course for me, when I'm on vacation, I can produce a big video, a big project, and that's why I decided to do another Q&A video. And as you might have already noticed, due to my thinking and my saying, this is once again completely unscripted, random. So the thing we will do is I asked my Patreon supporters what questions they have for me concerning electronics projects, ideas from me, whatever. And also I asked them about German stereotypes. So they can say what they know, what German stereotypes they're familiar with, and I can say, okay, that's true or not, just to spice things a bit up and make it more interesting. And I'm sorry to those on Facebook and Twitter that I did not ask them, but I thought the last Q&A video was like 55 minutes and that was just too long for me, I think. And a lot of viewers were not interested in it when it is this long. So I thought only Patreon supporters this time, so we can keep it short but still interesting. Okay, let's get started with the questions. Oh, I forgot. At the end of the video, there will be a giveaway. So Sigland, once again, very nice of them, gave me the opportunity to give something away. This time it's the Sigland SDS1104XE digital storage oscilloscope. It's a super phosphor oscilloscope. I used it a couple of times, it works really well, and they're giving me the chance to give it away, and we will talk about that at the end of the Q&A video. So for now, let's get started with the questions. And even though I said it's completely unscripted and random, I looked at the Patreon questions and there are a couple of really interesting ones. So let's see what my answers for those will be. Q&A giveaway. Okay, so we got a total of, I think it was 16 questions. That's pretty nice, a good amount. The first question from David: do you or would you make a project with an ATtiny85 or an ATtiny84A as the brains? As for stereotype, okay, so the ATtiny85 and ATtiny84, I actually did projects with those microcontrollers because I think they are very handy, very practical. They only cost, I think, €1 or $1. And they have 8 pins, so I think you got 5 input outputs, 3 PWM pins. So yes, I actually used them before. I think you haven't seen the video. I actually even made a small programming shield for the Arduino Uno for those kind of microcontrollers. So I think I've used them in 2 or 3 projects. I think even in a switching power supply project, I don't know if it was the buck or boost, I used an ATtiny. So for small projects which only require a couple of I/O pins, it's just perfect, this kind of microcontroller. I think I will link the videos down below where I used them, then you can watch them. It's quite an interesting microcontroller. I haven't used it during the last videos because I think they're all a bit more complex, and I think for a beginner it's always much easier to just grab an Arduino Nano or something similar and go with that instead of programming an ATtiny, which is not complicated but a bit more complex to do. Okay, and the stereotypes, which he said is precision and organization. Your videos are so unbelievable precise. Thank you very much. You're the Mercedes, Porsche, BMW, BMW, sorry, it's BMW in English, and Audi of electronic YouTubers. Thank you very much. So precision and organization, I hope it's a good stereotype for Germans. I would definitely agree. All companies I've been to, all kinds of anything that has to do with, how to say this? Let's keep it to companies. So all companies I've been to, it's always been very precise, organized. You come at that time, you do this. It's all planned out, and I actually like that. I'm a big fan of organization if it's well done. And yes, that's a stereotype I can definitely confirm. And there is an answer from Ryan Carrick. If he were the Mercedes of electronic YouTubers, half his project would be constantly broken and the other half working flawlessly with no discernible difference between the two. Okay, so I don't drive a Mercedes, so I don't have a big opinion on that. But if you say so, okay. Okay, and there is another from David, and the second stereotype is confirmed in saying that you will take your boombox on vacation. Most Brits encounters Germans when on holiday. Do you stake your claim on a spot by the pool by laying a towel on a deck chair at 7 a.m.? No, I don't. But I'm familiar with this stereotype. I've heard it quite a lot, but actually from my family and pretty much all friends I have and their families, I've never seen this happen. I think it's really just old people who go on vacation who do this maybe, but for us young people and those in their 30 to 40s, 50s, I think it's pretty uncommon. But maybe it's just my social circle who does not do this. I don't know, but I definitely do not do this, and I think it's kind of ridiculous when you're like this. I don't know, I don't like it. Next question is from David McAnulty. Since you seem to create a lot of battery-powered projects, I have a question. I run a web-enabled remote-controlled car. It's a standard Toy RC car and was originally designed to run off a 7.2 volts proprietary nickel cadmium. Over the years, I've put different battery technologies in it. Nickel metal hydride, C-cells, nanoloops, etc. etc. What would you recommend for a battery that I could deep discharge or has a protect circuit and recharge over and over? I'd really like something high capacity, as I've been running this project since 1998 and I am a little sick of charging batteries all the time. I can definitely understand that. Maybe 2 batteries I could swap. Thanks for any advice. So I've done a couple of battery projects on the channel. I've also worked in the beginning with analog batteries, but as time passed on, as you can see in my latest videos, it's all about lithium ion and lithium polymer. So as you said, you need 7.4 volts. I would go with something like 2 18650 cells. Maybe the ones I always use, the INR 18650 -25R. Maybe even in a battery holder, there are specific ones for 18650 cells, so you can swap them out later. So get the battery holder, just the 2 batteries. The charger is for 2, I think, is relatively cheap. The charger then works by charging each cell individually, since you will be taking them out and then recharging them. Maybe $10 for the charger, and for the protection circuits, obviously a BMS, so you have the short circuit protection, which is very important, and then you got the over discharge. But for BMS, they always have a very low over discharge voltage, something like 2.5 volts, and if you're lucky 3 volts. So to solve this problem, I would go with this battery voltage circuits. I showed it in another video. I think it was the video with, where I did the battery level indicator circuit. So it's a little circuit that shows you the voltage of each cell. I think that would be very appropriate for that. So you can just see the voltage of each cell and then swap them out when they're too low, like maybe 3.5 or 3.5 volts or something a bit lower, 3.5, 3.3 volts. And yeah, that would be my solution. Just 2 18650s, the battery holder, then a charger, a BMS, and then the voltage level circuit. That would be my idea. That's how I would do it, because those 18650s, they have great volumetric and gravimetric energy density. I hope that answered your question. So let's continue with the next one. Benjamin, who has a couple of questions. Okay, let's go through them. What other electronic YouTube channels do you watch / recommend? So my favorites on top of all, of course, it's Afrotech Mods. His tutorials are by far the best. I won't say they are the most complicated, but just on a level of entertainment and education, they are my favorite. But of course, everyone has a different opinion. If it's not your favorite, completely fine. But then there are, of course, other ones, because Afrotech Mods is, I think, not active anymore. He does videos very rarely. Other YouTube channels I would recommend, definitely Electro Boom, I think he's called now. It's not so much about learning. Well, in the last videos it's more about learning actually, but it's always funny because he shows accidents that can happen with electronics, which I think is very important to show as well, because electronics and electricity can be very dangerous. So I actually like that he shows that more often. And of course it's entertaining. Then also there is EV Blog, where it's very technical, very in-depth. You can learn so much with him. But then again, it's not the most entertaining format, because like the name implies, it's a blog. So videos can be very long and sometimes also a bit boring. But for some viewers, the long, more in-depth stuff is what they prefer. And then there is, let's go through them quickly. What do I watch? Ben Heck show, but Ben Heck is not active anymore, I think. He's stopping in a couple weeks, actually. I don't know, I'm not sure. But his current videos are not as good as the old ones. They were pretty good. Nowadays it's like, it's still there, but not that awesome anymore. And then you got, who else do you got? What I recently found out, another German who makes, I don't know how to say it, it's kind of a weird humor, but I like it, and he is called Marco Reps. I think I found him because I did the soldering station video, and there were actually a couple of viewers who said I stole the idea from Marco Reps, and I was like, who is Marco Reps? And I watched this video and it was very similar to mine. So he came before, so I actually stole it. But he does very good videos. I really like them. I always watch his videos as soon as they get released. And that's a pretty good sign that a creator is doing something correct. And I think that's it for the moment, what I watch when it comes to electronics. Of course, there are other things I watch, but for electronics, those are the big ones. I hope I did not forget anyone. If so, sorry. Okay. What are your hobbies besides electronics? I have a few hobbies. I don't want to get too personal. I don't want to talk too much about myself. But I can say I like to do sports, all kinds of ball games, football, table tennis, if it's that cold, yes. I also go to the gym. So yeah, sports. I also like to play video games. I also like to watch movies. And a few other things. I don't want to get too personal. Do you think electric cars are the future, or is another technology superior? Good question. I had this conversation with a friend of mine before, because he was all about hydrogen cars and I'm all about electric cars. So I think electric cars are the future, but the technology is not really there yet. Most importantly, the battery technology, which is not there yet, but then again, there are advancements in this technology and things are improving. So there will be, the electric cars will be the future, but right now it is accessible and it makes sense to use it right now, but the future will then really get away from the gasoline cars and move over to the electric cars. Hydrogen is also a good solution, but then again, in Germany, the current problem with hydrogen cars is that there are just no gas stations for it. And then again, if there are no gas stations, no one will get hydrogen cars. And when no one gets hydrogen cars, there will be no gas station for it. So there's this problem. But for me, it's electric cars, definitely. Do you think, will there be another project like your mopeds? Yes, there will be another like my moped. I did a project with it a while ago. It was the SMS GPS tracker thingy. And yes, I am working on a project for my mopeds. It has a bit to do with the electric car thing I talked about just a second ago. I don't want to say too much, I don't want to spoil it, but let's just say for the moped project, that was the reason I also did the video about the VEC. But I won't say more than that. And I don't want to get your hopes up and then I will never get to it because that also happens with creating stuff. You run into problems, you have to do the weekly deadline, and then it just doesn't work out and you have to push the project to the side. It happens, so don't get your hopes up, but yes, I am working on something awesome, I would say. Are there some projects you recommend to learn SMD soldering which are actually useful? If you want to get into SMD soldering, I highly recommend the Lipo Charge Protect Boost circuit I did. That's a project I really like. Still use it whenever I have a small project. I take it out, just a small lithium polymer battery and then the circuit to it, and boom, you got 5 volts, you got the protection, you can charge it. It's awesome, and of course it's completely made out of SMD, so I highly recommend that. You can go over to JLC PCB, order the PCB, it's really dirt cheap, and then get the parts maybe even from LCSC, which is the partner, so you can get both for very low prices. Then you can do the soldering, and I think that's a great learning exercise, and of course you get an awesome circuit, which is actually useful. Okay, next question. Do you still use your X-Carve? Very good question. I have it sitting there. No, it's doing nothing. For the past couple of months, I actually did the last video with it, was the PCB milling video, I think. The problem is that I don't currently need those precise cuts. Actually, I do everything with a handsaw or then with a jigsaw or something like that, and I don't needed the X-Carve in recent times. But again, I have a project planned which needs precise cuts. So maybe in the future, maybe in the next half year, I will be using it a bit more. Okay, is there an efficient way to boost the voltage of a single 18650 cell to about 18 volts and still deliver 15 watts? Good question. I think I will leave that question for now because there was another question which was similar, so there you can see the calculation. So for now, not, but keep on watching. Okay, next question from Hannes Gronbach. How will you build a 12 volt power pack / power wall by using 18650 Lipo cells, 3 or 4 in series? In which safety function would you build in to run it on the most safe but efficient way? To get a 12 volt output, I would definitely go with 4 in series, because with 3 in series, I don't have the exact numbers right now, but I think you would be getting too close to 12 volts to just use a buck converter. So with 3 in series, you would need a buck boost, and for in series you would just use a buck converter. And since a standalone buck converter is more efficient than a buck boost, I would go with the buck for the most efficient way. And then again, you need, like I said before, a BMS for the short circuit, over discharge, overcharge protection. And then of course, with 4 in series, you would have to see whether the BMS has a balance charge feature built into it, or the safest way, I think in my opinion, is you just put out a balance connector as well as the XT60 connector, and then you use a suitable balance charger for the job. And this way you will always have a perfect balance charge, and you do not have to trust the BMS that is doing its balance job correctly. So that's what I would do. Just 4 in series, buck converter, BMS, balance connection put to the outside so you can charge it up with a balance charger. That's how I would do it. Tobias asks, what was the title of your master thesis? I would like to keep that private, so no answer to that. What are you currently doing for a living? I'm doing this, YouTube videos. I never thought I would do that for a living later on, but there are just so many viewers who like this stuff, so I can finance myself with YouTube ads. Then I got Patreon, which is very important. So Patreon is crowdfunding. There are awesome people who say, okay, you're doing such a good job, it's worth the $1 a month, here you go, please make more. And I appreciate it, and I do more. And then I also got some contacts and financial support from companies recently. JLC PCB, you might be familiar with, which is a very good partner because they support me financially, but then again, they do not restrict me when it comes to video production. So I still have the complete freedom. I can do whatever I want creatively, and they are just like, okay, we're fine with that. Just promote us with a small ad in the beginning, and that's all fine. And then I got some other contacts with companies in recent times. I don't want to say too much about it, but there will be some more partnerships with them, which is a good thing for me financially. And I think it's a good thing for the viewers as well, because I get access to a lot of stuff that I would normally not get. And I think, especially for viewers, it's very interesting to have a look, a deeper look within those companies, what they produce, what they offer. And just like with the JLC PCB one, lots of people were just thankful to me actually to put this ad in the video, because they found the service, and the service is great, it's cheap, and for DIY projects is perfect. So I hope that this effect will go on with the other partnerships with corporations, that it will be very helpful for viewers, that they get to know this kind of technology or products or what they offer. Next, I don't know if this fits into the Q&A, so feel free to skip it for the video. I'm writing my master thesis in mathematics and computer science, and I would love to make a degree in electronics after that, so I can at least use it for my future home building. I have a good but incomplete knowledge base, and I'm not legally allowed to build a fuse block or connect a 400 volt oven. So my question is, do you know about a possibility to skip most of a 3-year training here in Germany, or do you have any suggestions for my situation? Very interesting question. I did the Duales Studium, it's called here in Germany. So I did electrical power engineering, the studying at the university, but I also did in Germany it's called Ausbildung, it's an apprenticeship. So I became an electrician. So that's what he's saying right now, because if you just study electrical engineering and you build an awesome device and you want to power it up, you're not allowed to do that, because it has to be tested beforehand from the electrical side, whether there's sufficient insulation and something like that. I haven't done that in a while, so I'm not completely familiar with everything that has to be in place to power the application. But That was told us actually during our studies with a professor. He was like, you can build the most awesome thing, but you're not allowed to power it. You have to get an electrician to test it beforehand. And we were just like joking about it, because in the end we can do both. So we can build it and we are also allowed to power it. And that's what he's saying in the end, because if you want to power something, you have to get that 3-year training, which is actually, in Germany, it's called Elektrofachkraft, which you're then, but what I'm familiar with is that there are also other jobs who just need to do simple electronics tasks, like changing a light bulb, or like you said, I don't know, but maybe changing a fuse, something like that. And there is a training for that. It's Elektrounterwiesene Fachkraft or something like that. Google it, you will find it, and you can do that, but I'm not completely sure what you're allowed to do and what you're not allowed to do, so have a look at that. Moving on to Mauro Sobreira de Sousa. Stereotype question. I'm not much of a soccer fan, oh boy, but Germans in soccer, did it reverberate, no idea what that word means, among Germans to slide from champion to eliminated in the first round 4 years later? Was German giving a reason, ranting, or business as usual? It sucked. It definitely sucked. I'm not that much of a soccer fan. I played soccer or football, how you would call it properly. I played it for 8 years, but I'm actually not the kind of person who liked to watch soccer. But again, the World Cup, I watched all German games, all games with Germany, and they weren't good. Like, I will not talk too much about it, but it sucked. The Germans accepted it. There wasn't a big riot or something like that. It was like most of them actually were like, it's good that they were kicked out because the performance was just not good. And I'm being polite here. What some players did, I don't want to say this one, it's his fault, but there were like 1 or 2 players, I don't know what they were doing on the field. They shouldn't even have come to the World Championship, but I don't care anymore. I'm pretty happy actually that Croatia, it's called in English, Kroatien, made it to the end game, so they did an awesome performance. In the end, France won, but they did an awesome job, and it was a pretty awesome game in the end. Actually, the last 2 or 3 games were pretty awesome. Moving on. Ryan Carrick, why do you only get 1 week vacation a year? Because I need 1 week to produce a video. I do weekly videos, and there's the problem. So even just this 1 week, it's hard for me to do. I had to pre-produce the last video, which was the solar panel video, and that was just double the work for me, just stretched out over a couple of weeks, and it's just hard to get ahead of 1 week. So 1 week is all I can do for my vacation in the end. But I'm not that mad. I love doing what I'm doing, and I don't need that much vacation actually. So it's fine. I'm not going to ask a German stereotype question, as I already know you prefer a boombox as your type of stereo. But I would like you to discuss your thoughts on eigen foods during the live stream. I have no idea what eigen foods means. Sorry, no idea. Christopher Bassett asks, I have a German question for you. Is the Autobahn really all it is cracked up to be? Is traffic enforcement really that big of a deal? So the first part of the question, is it all really cracked up to be? I think my English is too bad. I don't quite understand what you mean. Is traffic enforcement really that big of a deal? It is. Like when you hear Autobahn, it's the highway in Germany. There are always those stereotypes that there's no speed limits. There are parts where there is no speed limit, so it's pretty awesome. But then again, not everyone will go with 200 kilometers per hour through the Autobahn, through the highway. And that's why in the end there is kind of a speed limit, because some people just limit the speed in the end. It's not the government who does it in this case, it's the people themselves. But there are big parts of the Autobahn which have a speed limit. And there, like you said, the traffic enforcement is there. So in German it's called Blitzer, where you can then get blitzed, photographed, and then you get a nice ticket to you sent. And it's there, it's quite consistent. There are a lot of parts where those law enforcement is present. But then again, there are apps on your phone, like a Blitzer app, which tells you, okay, there is a Blitzer coming up, you have to slow down. But in the end, it is recommended to follow the speed limits of the government, because it's there for a reason. Mostly it's because they're doing some work at the highway and you have to slow down a bit, or the lanes are just 3 lanes or going into one and they want you to slow down. It makes sense most of the time. But the bigger problem with the Autobahn highway at the moment is that there's so much work going on there. So you barely have 3 lanes most of the time. It's mostly just 1 lane then, and everyone has to go slow because there are workers who have to fix the highway, and it's a big problem actually. It's getting worse and worse. But okay, moving on. How would you solve Brexit? Okay, Miles Kondik answers, what a question. You could as well ask how he would solve world peace problems. I don't want to get too political, so I won't talk about Brexit. Okay, then Milos Kondik, my question, is there a quick rule of thumb or simplified calculation that can be used in order to calculate the maximum current that can be obtained from a boost converter? That is the thing from before when he asked about the boost converter. An example, I have a 2S battery with a capacity of 1500 milliamp hours and a boost converter capable of delivering up to 3 amps, for example XL6009. If I boost the battery voltage to say 15 volts, what is the maximum current I can expect from the boost converter? So output voltage to output current relation. I know it depends on the characteristics of the boost converter, but let's assume a standard converter with usual efficiency levels. So you have to start off with the voltage. So you have 2S batteries, that's 7.4 volts. And then you said the XL6009 can do 3 amps. I looked it up before. It's actually 4 amps, but switching current 4 amps. So as you might know, with a boost converter, you got your coil and you got your switch. And the switch is then used that current flows through the coil so it can build up its magnetic field. And then the switch is open so that the energy of the magnetic field can be pushed into the output so the voltage rises. So it's important to know that the 4 amps is the switching current that can be on the input. And that can now be calculated. You got 7.4 volts, you got 4 amp switching currents. So you multiply that, you get a power of 7.4 by 4, oh god, by 2 it's 14.8, by 4, 29.6. Let's just say it's 30 watts. So you can put 30 watts on the input. Then you have to calculate with the efficiency. So let's go with the worst case, like a normal case I would say. It's like 80% efficiency. So 30 watts minus 20%, that is 24 watts. So you got 24 watts that you can put on the output. And that is then calculated to your 15 volts. It's just 24 watts divided by 15 volts that you want, and that should be around 1.6 amps on the output. So with your 2S batteries, you should be able to get 1.6 amps at 15 volts. So you got 24 watts, which equals the maximum input power of 30 watts, but you got an efficiency of 80%. So that's how I would calculate it. Could be wrong. I think I just made it up the way I think it should work. Feel free to correct me in the comment section if it is wrong. but I think that should be correct. I hope it is correct. Let's just say that. Gary Patreon, big plus on your channel. Always entertaining and educational. Thank you very much. So where do Germans folk like to go on holidays, either local or international destinations? And what are your favorites? For me, since I am afraid of heights, I don't like to use airplanes. So for the past years, it's always been national. Last year I was also on vacation. For me, the vacation is just a moped trip with 3 of my friends with the Simson. And we go to a camping area and do camping there for a week, going around with the moped, visiting a couple of places. So that's the vacation for me. My favorites, I don't think I have favorites. I would say if I would go international, where it's sunny, where it is a beach would be nice, and maybe all-inclusive from the hotel would be nice as well. I think that would be my favorites. Okay, George Sorin. First of all, thank you for sharing your knowledge. Now the question: why generic ESP8266 is so unstable, entering in bootloop and also crashing? I have no idea. I don't work that much with the ESP8266. No idea, sorry. When you have an egg LED, I think he means a 5mm LED, and one LED band, how you can fade all the channels in at the same time, like multi-threading. Multi-threading with microcontrollers is not possible because you got your loop which goes through the lines. But if you use 3 PWM channels, you can make it look like it's multi-threading because the time steps between each commands is so small that people usually don't notice unless you got a slow motion camera maybe. It is recommended to use a PWM with a high resolution. So the Arduino has 8 bits, like 255 steps, but it would be great if you had like 10 bits, 2024 steps, 1023 steps, sorry, or 12 bits, 4095 steps, I think. With those, the way to go is you have 1 PWM channel to each color, and then you just go through the lines. You give red 1 step up, then you go green 1 step up, and then you go blue 1 step up. Then all are at 1, and then you start from the top again. Red, green, blue, red, green, blue, red, green, blue, and those colors then fade up. And of course, with the bigger resolution, it looks much more smooth. And in the end, like I said, the time between those commands is just so little that people will not notice that it happens one after the other, but it will look like it's doing it all simultaneously. That's how you can do that. Last question from David C. Morris. I'm an old man in my mid-60s and retired. By your standards, I could be your father or even your grandfather. I have had a lifelong desire to learn and have even returned to university to take EE courses. Awesome. I may be the world's oldest EE student. So here's my question for you. Where do you see yourself in 25 years? I thought this was a long time. It isn't. Will you still be engineering or moved on to something else? It is a provocative question, but I have asked it to my own children and grandchildren. So I'm just curious how you might answer it. So in 25 years, I hope I still do electrical engineering. For me, before I actually studied it or learned it in my training, I had no big idea of what it was going to be. But as time progressed and as I started this channel and just explored all of the different types of electrical engineering, it doesn't have to be microcontroller stuff, it can be electrical power engineering, there can be high frequency stuff. There's just so much to it. It's such a wide field that it's always interesting. You can always learn something new, and it's always it's a technology that's evolving constantly. So In 5 years it will be maybe drastically different from what we do now with microcontrollers or something similar, more powerful, different technologies. And I think that is just so interesting. There's always so much to learn, and I think it will not get boring in my lifetime, I hope. And that is why I think I will still be doing it in 25 years. I doubt that I still will be doing YouTube videos, but maybe I will have moved on working for a company, maybe even my own company. I have no idea what will be in 25 years. But I hope it will have to do with electrical engineering, because it's just an awesome working field, learning field, everything field. Okay, that's enough for the questions. Those were all Patreon questions. I hope they were interesting. I hope you learned, maybe even learned something during the video. And now let's get back to the giveaway. Like I said in the beginning, the Siglent oscilloscope. It's an awesome oscilloscope, 4 channels. It can do everything you need for an electronics beginner, for an advanced electrical engineer also. And Siglent gave me the chance to give away 4 of those. So 1 will be just like last time for the YouTube, for all my YouTube viewers, and 3 will be for my Patreon supporters. So for the Patreon supporters, you are familiar by now with how it works. There will be a post, you will have to comment, and then we will do the tombola. And for the YouTube viewers, we will do it this way, that you head over to the community tab. There, once this video goes online, I will do a short little text where you can see, okay, I have to write my comment there to enter the giveaway. And you just write your comment. I will then randomly pick a winner, I think a week later, when the next video will be released. And that's it. No big question this time, no big task. Just write a comment underneath my text and you might win the oscilloscope. I will then contact the person. Oh, I think private messages are no longer available. Not sure yet how I will contact that person, the YouTube person. We will see. I hope that will work out somehow. But then again, I hope you enjoyed the Q&A video. I hope you're looking forward to the next regular video of mine. Maybe it'll be an electronics project, maybe a basics video, maybe something else. We will see, but it will definitely be about electronics. And with that being said, stay creative. And I will see you next time.